Hey everyone, I just want to remove the discussion from politics and social dynamics generally and philosophy. Well, I guess it's a philosophy of health or a philosophy of nutrition that I want to get into now. And I just want to speak about my health because my health is so unstable. My God, you would not believe. Like, I had 2 coffees 2 days ago, and a few weeks back I could drink coffee all the time just fine. But 2 days ago I had 2 coffees and it messed me up, like, mentally. And now, since then, physically, I have been recovering. It's taken me it's taken me too long. I still feel like crap now. My nose is all blocked. I can't breathe. I am mentally incoherent. I have an upset stomach. I have loads of congestion coming out of me, and I have lung problems. So congestion, inability to breathe when you've had 3 collapsed lungs over the past 7 years, and once you nearly died as a result. It's not good. And my health problems are a direct result of the first time that I did have a collapsed lung and the subsequent malpractice that was put on me by an incompetent surgeon who almost killed me. And subsequent to that, I spent a month in the hospital after a few days of intensive care, and my health has not been right since. I developed intolerances to pretty much all foods. Like, I can't eat carbs. Like, sometimes I can seem to tolerate coffee for periods, but, it just seems to catch up with me eventually, always. I have such a restrictive diet now that it's kind of maddening. Like, I used to love food. I used to be obese when I was a teenager. Like, I was morbidly obese at one point, because I was just a little fatty and I loved eating food and eating sugary things and treats and whatever. I loved lasagna, I loved pasta, I loved bread, I loved dairy, all of it. And I could eat it all day long, and it was no problem. It did not cause me any unwellness other than an upset belly, you know what I mean? And fatness. But, other than that, I did not seem to have any negative health effects. But since that yuppie douchebag surgeon who was incompetent nearly killed me, I have had just a whole host of health problems that are related to, I believe, my gut microbiome being destroyed and pathogenic microbes taking control of my digestive system. And every time I feed the pathogenic microbes what they like to eat, then they grow out of control and destroy my health, my physical well-being, as well as my mental coherence. So what happened? I had a collapsed lung, which in itself was horrible. So horrible. The pain, my God. Not being able to breathe, my God. Oh, I wouldn't wish it on an enemy. But beyond that, I went to get it fixed, and it was supposed to be a fairly simple procedure, but not a very pleasant one, because they get a giant cartoonish needle, like literally something out of a Warner Brothers cartoon. It was like the syringe on it was like a foot long or something, or at least 6 inches, but it was just cartoonish and silly looking. It was so massive. So what they're supposed to do is they stick the giant needle in your chest. No anesthesia or anything. They just stick the needle in you, and then, or maybe they do. I don't even fucking remember. So they stick the giant needle in you, and they remove the trapped air around the collapsed lung, and that is supposed to make the lung reinflate. And then when it reinflates, it sticks to the chest wall, and heals, or that's ideally what's supposed to happen. I've had the aspiration 3 times, never worked once for me. Every single time I had to get cut open and have a chest drain tube stuck in me. But anyway, the first time I went, some yuppie douchebag who was very much full of himself and seemed to have nothing but contempt for me because, well, he was so up his own ass and so high on his own status that he didn't really actually want to pay attention to the patient whose life he was supposed to be saving, and instead wanted to act like an arrogant douche who was too cool for school. And he did it so nonchalantly, like did the aspiration so nonchalantly, like, oh yeah, I got this. And, well, something went wrong. He nicked an artery and then sent me back to the ward and the little bed thing that I was on. And I got worse and worse, like, and I thought it was just, I didn't even know what was happening, but I was in absolute agony. And the situation was supposed to be getting better, but I felt worse and worse and worse. And after a few hours, I could barely move. Like, I had to go to the bathroom, and as well, they had me, Jesus Christ, they had me on this cot, and they had me under a cold air vent, and it was fucking November, and I was in like a little dressing gown, and they kept taking off the dressing gown to like do things to me, because I was like, you know, I had all these dealies stuck to me which were monitoring my vitals, and I needed to get up to use the bathroom after a few hours, and I could barely move. I was in such agony. My God, it's some of the most unbearable pain I have ever felt in my life. And the hospital staff were looking at me like I was an actor, like I was a thespian pretending to be an injured person, like acting like I was a hypochondriac hobbling to the toilet because, oh, he only has a collapsed lung, you know, so they thought. And, well, they treated me like I was an asshole and a drama queen because I was dying in front of them, and they were so incompetent they didn't realize that. So anyway, over the course of about 6-8 hours, I had a number of x-rays, and apparently they weren't fucking paying attention, because I had one more x-ray before lights out that night. I went in there early in the morning, and it was like 11 o'clock by the time I got my last x-ray, probably a little after 11, between 11 and 11:30. And they did my x-ray, and apparently nothing wrong. But then another doctor who wasn't involved with my case, he came on shift, and, well, he saw my chart, I don't know what to call it, the x-ray that was still up on the lighted screen, and he immediately looked shocked, like, oh fuck. And he said something to the people who were supposed to be tending to me but were doing a very poor job, and then all of a sudden, like, a dozen hospital staff like accumulated around me, like, boom, and they wheeled me off to a back room. They put me on a big cold metal table thing. I don't know, was it an operating table or what? I don't know. I just remember it was cold and metal and was unpleasant to lie on, but that was the least of my concerns at that point, because I really felt like I was dying. So they needed to cut me open, and they told me they needed to cut me open because I was bleeding internally. Well done for catching on, guys. Finally. Oh, yeah, there was something wrong. I actually was dying in front of you, not being a dramatic hypochondriac like you were treating me like. Haha. So anyway, without anesthetic, without anesthesia, they turned me over and cut me open to drain out all the blood. And I was later told by one of my surgeons in another hospital when I was leaving a month later that I had lost 4.2 liters of blood, which is, well, almost all of the blood in a human body. But, you know, like as they did that, like, you know, they cut me open and attached a tube to like a big container, and I immediately filled one container, like boom, and it was like a gallon container or thereabouts, and they attached another one, and like, you know, between the container changing, I poured blood like all over the floor, and as they were like putting me into the ambulance a few minutes later, I could see my blood all over the floor, and one of the containers like full to the fucking brim with my blood, and I had the other one attached to me by a tube. But like one of the most stark memories I have of that was when they cut me open. The stink of blood, or maybe it was when they were changing the tubes, but the stench of blood like in the room was like, you know, if you get a bloody nose and you like put your head back foolishly because you're not supposed to do that, but some people think you are, and then the blood goes back your throat, and then you're like drinking and tasting blood. So anyway, it was like that. The reek of blood, of my own blood, filling the room that I was essentially dying in. It was like I was, you know, experiencing a nosebleed and just pouring blood into my mouth, and I was like, get that taste out of my mouth. But it was just the smell. It was so intense an aroma that it was like my mouth was full of blood, which it wasn't. So yeah, they put me in an ambulance and they sent me to another hospital where they gave me a blood transfusion, and I was literally on the verge of death. And then I was to have surgery, and I didn't know that I was on the verge of death because I was like, hang in there, you know. That's all you can do in a situation like that, is like maintain coherence, or that's what you're trying to do anyway, even though internally you're like, fuck, what's happening? So anyway, I had to wait for X amount of time, and I couldn't drink water. Oh my god, that's the thirstiest I have ever been in my life. And as an ex-drug user, I have been very thirsty at many points in my life, and for numerous reasons. At whatever point in time, I could not have a drink. So I have had moments of great thirst over the course of my life, but nothing will ever compare to how thirsty I was when I was like, you know, like all my blood was gone, and I don't know, did I get a pint or two infused into my little bag? And, you know, that was all the fluid in my body, because I hadn't drank anything all day because I was too busy dying in front of these incompetent medical staff. So anyway, I was very thirsty, and they had to like leave me without water before the surgery for many hours, what seemed like an eternity. And I was fucking messed up. I was in absolute agony. I was just so mentally incapable of keeping any sort of coherence. I was dazed, confused, and literally on the verge of death. And I didn't know I was on the verge of death, but I knew it was not good. So anyway, eventually they like wheeled me into surgery, and you know, I didn't know. You know, they were like, oh, do you want to see your family before surgery? And I, you know, thought it was like, oh, hey, how's it going? And like, they wheeled me out to my family before they brought me into the operating theater. And, well, they all looked horrified. Like, all of them looked like, oh shit, he's gonna die. And that's not reassuring when you're going into surgery. Mark my words, you know, like you see your entire family lined up in front of you, looking at you like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, and you know, the concern like pouring out of them as well at the same time, and I was like, okay, maybe it's worse than I thought. And you know, I only like understood afterward that it was major surgery, but I was just, you know, out of it. What was I gonna say or do? I could do nothing in the situation, you know. I was a passenger in that situation, and I was, you know, obviously, if I need surgery to save my life, okay, do that. So yeah, anyway, they wheeled me in and they like gassed me, and you know, I woke up I don't know how long later in intensive care, and I woke up with a respirator tube down my throat, which was one of the most unpleasant things about the entire episode, and that is saying a lot considering how unpleasant the entire affair was. But, and here's one thing now. I encountered 2 sadist nurses in my time there, and one of them was in intensive care. And I woke up after major surgery, disoriented, a complete mess, and I was, you know, barely recovering from being on the absolute verge of death. And I woke up, I couldn't breathe. The ventilator tube, it's embedded in your throat, and you cannot breathe. There's like a trickle of oxygen coming out of the thing, like, and you're trying to take a breath, and you can't, you know? And I didn't know what the hell was going on, and I was like panicking, and I was freaked out and confused, and I was like asking the nurse, because I couldn't talk because I had the thing down my throat. I was like, I tried to take it out myself, and I was trying to tell her to take it out, and she pretended like she didn't know what I was talking about. And I was losing my shit trying to get the thing out of me, but I was like, I didn't want to fucking just yank the thing out because I didn't know, you know, how do you remove a respirator? Is it attached somehow? If I pull it out, is it going to tear out my fucking esophagus or larynx? I don't fucking know. So anyway, I had to just stop, and she went away. And then fucking, I don't know, I had to like focus, and breathe, like inhale the little trickle of oxygen coming out, and just focus on that and maintain my respiration through the respirator. And I don't know, did I press a button or did I do something, but eventually some other nurse came along, and she immediately removed the ventilator from my throat and was very nice to me, and I felt okay again. So I got out of intensive care after 2 days, and that wasn't the end. That wasn't the end of the story, not by a long shot. So they gave me like a morphine drip, and like I had a button and there was a timer on it, and it was like, okay, every 15 minutes you can press it, but don't press it if you don't feel like you need to. But like, I was like, I definitely need to keep pressing this as regularly as I can. So I got all fucked up on morphine, and it was, you know, I won't say it was fantastic, but the morphine was fantastic. But like the experience wasn't such that it accommodated me being able to enjoy the high doses of morphine that I was able to have. So I for the duration of the month, I was essentially bedridden, because the lung took a very long time to heal because I had no blood in my body. And well, having blood circulating throughout your body is an important factor as far as healing goes. If you need to heal wounds, your blood needs to be coursing through your veins to send all the right stuff to the right place, so your body can actually perform its metabolic tasks and do things like repair wounds. So it took a very, very long time for my lung to heal, and while it was healing, I had to be attached to the wall by a very, very short tube, which was, I don't know, like 3 feet long or something. The wall had like some air pump thing in it, and it was like creating suction. So like you have the tube in you, and there is air being pulled out, which causes a vacuum, which causes the lung to expand. And then, you know, once the lung expands, it's just a matter of it sticking to the chest wall, and that is what is required for the wound to heal. So the fact that I had no blood meant that took a very, 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 very long time. And, well, I was not in a great state, not in a great way. And dear God, it hurt. It hurt just being in the bed all the time, you know, let alone all the mutilated torso and the holes in me, and, you know, the apparatus is sticking out of me. And oh God, the needles, my God, I have never gotten so many needles in me in my life. Like, over the course of the month, I must have been stuck with hundreds of needles. Like, the first few days, it was a lot. And then after that, it was like maybe two a day. And then if there was anything like the matter, then, you know, maybe something else. But yeah, I had to get, you know, injections regularly. But the first few days, I was like a pincushion. Like, they stuck needles in my toes. They stuck needles in my groin. I had needles coming out of my hands. Like, everywhere they could put a needle. I had a needle in my neck at one point. Everywhere they could put, because I lost so much blood, they couldn't find veins, and they kept missing as well. And this is before they even knew. Like, the first day I was in there, they were like sticking needles in me, and they couldn't hit a vein. And, you know, yeah, because all my blood is spilled into my thoracic cavity, you incompetent idiots. Maybe if you take a minute and be like, why are all his veins collapsed? There should be, like, blood here, but there doesn't seem to be any blood in the circulatory system. What could the matter be? But, you know, they were a bunch of incompetent quacks for the most part, and seemed more willing to act like I was a hypochondriac than actually pay attention to my physical state of well-being. So, you know, like, I'm here 7 years later and my health is still messed up from that. Like, I blame the antibiotics. Like, they hit me really hard with some very, very, very potent antibiotics, I believe 3 times, and the last time was so unnecessary, and I begged them not to, and they, against my consent, forced me to take another shot of antibiotics, which, you know, like, I didn't get a penny out of it anyway. I tried to bring legal action upon the institution. It wouldn't have been the guy that would have been paying, but, you know, I tried to get some compensation, because, my God, like, I have PTSD since then. My health is messed up. I have to try very, very, very hard and eat like a monk to even, like, maintain a positive state of health and well-being now. And this is over 7 years later, and I am still suffering. I have chronic pain. Like, I'm in pain all the time because of this. I have to have such a strict diet because of this. And the diet, like, it's having such a strict diet when you used to be such a foodie before is maddening. Like, I mean, what can I eat now? I can eat vegetables, but I can't even eat vegetables. I can eat a certain number of vegetables, and I can't eat other vegetables because I will react negatively to them. And I can eat meat, and that's it. You know, other than I can eat some almonds and I can eat some eggs, but they have to be plain eggs and they have to be unroasted almonds. Yeah, so, like, my diet now is so super strict, but that itself has a lot of benefits, and me learning how to eat right has had many positive influences on me. And being decrepit and messed up as I have been in the past, it has taught me to take care of myself. And, you know, now I work out and I eat good, and when I can maintain that, then I am, you know, both physically and mentally, boom, right up here, you know, on a high level. But at the same time, it's very difficult to maintain, and like sometimes it's just maddening eating the same things over and over and over and over again every day. Like I cannot eat for pleasure anymore. Unless I'm like after a workout or out all day and after a long day and I'm hungry, you know, then food is delicious and it's pleasurable again. But other than that, food for me is just sustenance. Like it's fuel, and I cannot enjoy food like I once used to because my health has gotten to a point where it is, you know, my health will not allow me to eat anything other than exactly what I need. So it's a pain in the ass, but it's got a lot of benefits. And I want to talk about diet because, like, I'm on a not just a ketogenic diet, I'm on a really strict hybridized keto-esque diet. I mean, I am ketogenic in that, you know, fat and protein, fantastic. That's pretty much all I can eat. I can't eat carbs. I can't even eat like tiny amounts of carbs. And like things like dairy, which are okay on a regular ketogenic diet, I can't go near. Even if it's dairy where there's like no carbs, if I eat it, it messes me up, and I don't even know how that is possible because like I've looked into this, and I can talk about this in future because I've done so much research and I have so many ideas about like what is causing this to happen, but I won't get into it now. And like my ideas on it before like just caused people to God, I hate people. Like I used to be so obsessed with my diet to try to get my health back on track after this that I had like all these theories which turned out to be true, and it's like further and further proved in scientific papers that have come out since then about the microbiome and about certain microbes in particular and how they can have a detrimental effect on the health. But, you know, that's the aside. The thing is, right, when I became super obsessed with my diet and the ideas around why I needed to eat like that, I had close friends who I would be telling this to, and they would act like I was insane. Like, they would act like I was a crazy person and a conspiracy theorist who was just making shit up apropos of nothing. You know what I mean? They did not understand what I was suffering through. They did not understand the reactions to food I was having. But at the same time, they felt like they knew enough to treat me like I was a crazy person because of the ideas I had, which are now fairly heavily substantiated about my microbiome and some microbes in particular and the negative effects that they have had on my health. But like, you know, it's crazy how people can be so willing to judge you negatively, people who act like they're your friends, and it's like, looking back, they were just looking for any excuse to condescend me, any excuse to feel superior, to elevate themselves, and that's largely how a lot of people are, unfortunately, or my experience of people has made me feel that this is the case. So yeah, the past 7+ years of my life I've been on really super strict diet, and it's been very tough, and I have chronic pain and near-death experience and all that. So I just wanted to make a video about that today because I made some videos about stuff and I wasn't even sure what to talk about, and I was just not feeling in the sort of mood where I was able to feel enthusiastic about anything. And I thought making a video where I'm speaking about stuff that is more personal to me and kind of changing from strictly political stuff to health and well-being, those are topics I would like to cover in more detail in future because I am fairly well-read and I'm a qualified nutritionist. I know a lot about food and I know a lot about the human, animal, and ideas that are non-medical, because I hate the allopathic medical system now and don't trust those people with my life and will only ever go to a hospital again unless I will otherwise die. But, you know, there is a lot of subject matter, if you are interested, that we can get into, and I just wanted to mix it up a bit and talk about some new stuff and maybe give you a little background about me and my life and why, maybe some contributing factors as to why I am such an unusual character. So on that note, good evening. Thank you for tuning in. If you lasted this long watching, then well done. I like you. So, yeah, it's been real. Love you all. Goodbye. If you appreciate what I'm doing and the content I'm creating, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the little bell thing, donate, and stay tuned. There's a lot more on the way.